Yeah, I can hear you.
Mike Levin, Pevin.
We're live.
The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's hump day.
Okay.
And another day in a riv. And
You're
more.
not on mic 11. I'm not picking you up.
You're not picking me up. You said you were.
Well, I can hear you, but it's not like the mic is, the mic might be too low on your shirt.
Can you hear me now?
It's not getting any better. Don't worry, we can hear you. I'm running three mics right now.
What do they do here? There's no mics hooked up here.
I've got your I can hear you.
Yeah, but can the audience?
I'm sure they can.
Somebody came in here and unhooked every mic but the one that doesn't work. Now it's wrapped around a leggedy.
Just watch your mouth, because we're live.
Good thing I can't use
Yeah.
Okay. Expletives will not be used. I know we're live. So.
Okay, put that mic back on, because they could hear it on the air.
Okay, it's back on.
Okay, because the chief said they could hear you. So.
Okay, let's get down to the news.
Down to the news. Well.
Recall. That's what we got today.
Oh God, more about the recall.
Well, we can't call them recalls. They don't. They're taking the petitioners. But
they're up to 4,000 signatures now, allegedly turned in. Initially, they had 1,700. If you remember, we spoke about this last week, and it was a rather interesting time. But here's the caveat, for the lack of a better expression here.
Caveat, yes.
Kelly Sousa Young, who is the elections commissioner, said that it may take them as long as 30 days to certify these signatures. That seems to be a little long to me.
Yeah, and when you think of it, I think someone told me, and I'm not sure, and you know, we will always be as accurate as we possibly can, but somebody told me that she's gotten that position on a 6-month probationary period. So she may not even be permanent in that position, so obviously she wants to keep her job, and you know there's going to be as much political pressure to make from the mayor to slow this down as much as he can, because obviously he wants to stay in office. He said time and time again that he doesn't want to leave office.
Right.
So it appears as though, you know, and it kind of, you know, and I know that they're talking about being short of help. Well, why don't they call in some of these people for a day or so that work the polls and have them assist? Because they're talking about they won't put anybody in, and actually the person I had the conversation with this morning, who used to be a city worker, no longer is, and actually I think worked at the polls, said, well, you know, she's got like a part-timer and there's not that much help. And, well, you know, you get them in. The people's voice should be heard, and it should be a priority. We are the government, supposedly, and you know, now we have political, you know, they're going to use it as an excuse. But let's, for the sake of saying, we've had elections where we had, I don't know, 30-some people running for city council, a whole bunch of people running for school committee, a whole bunch of people running for mayor. They turned in their nomination papers. They got certified fairly rapidly.
Right.
Now they're talking about an election. Well, you know, the election's got to be certified and blah, blah. Well, bring in the help you need. See, that's my whole problem with this thing, CJ, that when it's the business of the people, there's always a problem. Oh, we don't have enough help. It's going to cost too much money, but we'll spend $10 million paving a street to nowhere that my buddy owns, that half the property on, and I live on, but that's okay. And, you know, they don't have enough help in the elections. Well, get some people, call a couple people in, you know. I mean, they pay those people who work at the polls peanuts. They work one day, and they pay them. They don't pay them. I mean, they're not getting Kathy Ann Viveris and Mary Sahadi salaries.
And they don't get paid right away.
And they're getting paid like school crossing guards, which is peanuts, for doing a far more important job, actually. So, but, you know, we don't have a shortage of help in the mayor's office, do we? He's got a chief of staff. He's got Monica. What's Monica Souza's title now?
Special assistant to the mayor.
Special assistant to the mayor. Now we got a mayor that virtually never shows up. He's got a city administrator. He's got a chief financial officer. He's got a special assistant. He's got a chief of staff. He's got more help than you know what to do with. There's no shortage of help for him. There's so much help that he doesn't even have to do any work. Actually, he's spending more time at City Hall now after the indictment than before the indictment.
Well, from what
I've been told by people who work in City Hall.
True. One of our viewers, Dave, said he'd do it for free. So already, Kelly, you got volunteers that are willing to come in.
Volunteers.
And do it for free. So maybe you should consider that. I don't know.
But, you know, this is the thing that disturbs me. The business of the people. When it comes to recalls, when it comes to the people's voice being heard, it's always like, hey, I got my sunflower fly swatter still. I got to bring it in. Smack the people down. You go in front of the council to air your problems in citizens' input, and they got the 3-minute clock on you. And if you get over 3 minutes, there's a near riot. If somebody gets 3 minutes and 15 seconds or whatever, you know, there's a near riot down there.
Or you get somebody who comes down saying that you're unfair, and they start swearing.
That's right. That's right. Or they start swearing, getting belligerent. We have to clear the hall. But when it comes to the people who, by our own Constitution, state and federal, are the government, we can't speak. And everything that has to do with us having a say in government, which is a constitutional right, by the way, there's always a problem. We don't have enough help. Well, you only get 3 minutes because, you know, we got to do our business and get to the bar. You know, afterwards.
Yeah, we got to make sure that we all get an hour on camera.
We got to have happy hour. We got to hit happy hour at the local bar, and we got to have an hour on camera talking about nothing. But when it comes to a real issue, like should we get rid of a mayor that the people want to get rid of, it's like, okay, I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to come back. We're all going to say we all think he should be gone. Then we won't vote to get rid of him, though, even temporarily while this recall goes in. And then we'll wave the patriotic flag and say, oh, well, it's up to the people. It's up to the people. Well, you're the representative of the people. You had a chance to stop this madness because everything we talk about since the indictment has been fundamentally 90% of the news in this city has been about the recall of him, his removal, his refusal to resign and walk away. And, I'm sure he's there's one good thing to come in. He's been at City Hall more, from my reports, than he has been in the past 6 months. And he goes in through the basement, goes up. He doesn't walk in.
He avoids the press at all costs.
Slams doors in the press's face. There's a video of that somewhere. I think it's posted. Channel 12, I believe, he slammed the door in a guy's face. He
did the same thing to Brian Crandall, although he didn't slam the door in his face.
Yeah,
Channel 10.
Now he doesn't want to speak to anybody, but and obviously the people are not happy with him. I have gotten reports, and I can't say this is an absolute, but I was told that he appeared in an affair for an award for a local businessman and wanted to speak, and they said, no, you can't. You know, people do not want him.
He's showing up everywhere. He's showing up at the
you know, he's a pariah, and he hasn't figured that out yet.
But he's
a pariah, and he hasn't figured it out.
Here's the thing. During the last recall, the recall of 2014,
the people who were proud to call themselves recallers, right? Okay.
Those people were out there for 20 days.
That's right.
And barely got 4,000 signatures. They got more than 4,000 signatures, but it took them over 20 days to get it. These people got 4,000 signatures in, a week, 10 days. Not even 10, 10 days. They got this. And that's because during the recall of 2014, he was a well-liked mayor. Yeah. This shows you that this mayor isn't well-liked because everyone's coming out begging to sign this petition.
You know, we had to go up, and there were a lot of people intimidated during our recall, and now they don't care because they dislike him so much. But, you know, the thing was that, you know, he's so popular, he's thinking about running again, even though that, as I said before, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, and it was one of the reasons we recalled him after 2.5 terms, by the way. He'd been in 5 years. That he was a total disaster as the mayor.
Right.
He was a total incompetent, a likable incompetent, but a total incompetent. What did he do? We had an $8 million deficit in a budget because he didn't factor in the closing of the landfill, which we knew about for what, a decade or so before it closed. But that wasn't in there. He failed to fund pay raises, which he negotiated.
Right.
His financial team negotiated. You know, then we had Dominion and all the other circuses, and people continue to think that that recall was about just purple bags. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. But we had a litany of things called Flanagan shenanigans. What he proved was we recalled him because we felt he was an incompetent mayor. He's the person and now everybody likes him. Like I said, he's got a likable personality.
Right,
he's a radio personality. Now everybody's forgotten, and they're all saying, well, he didn't do anything anywhere near as bad as this guy. Yes, he did. He ran the city into the ground. He raised our taxes. He almost put us in near receivership. Secondly, for all you people who work for the city, remember, he wanted to put you in the GIC. But he didn't. I had to remind him at a city council meeting that he went for plan modeling after he. But it's not a savings to the taxpayers, and it's not a savings to the people in a health care plan. What they did was it was a cost shift. So every single retired and active city employee, when they go to the emergency rooms and they go to Boston and now pay $750 to go to a Boston hospital, plus a whole bunch of other co-pays that didn't exist before, it doesn't reduce the cost of health care because the cost is still the same. There was no renegotiation of the cost of health care. All they did was take more out of the pocket of the people who make the least. You know, the Kathy Ann Viverises and the Mary Sahatis of this city don't care. When you get a $40,000 pay raise, maybe it doesn't bother you to shell out $1,500 or $1,600 in co-pays when you go, when you get really sick and go to Boston. But it hurts the people who are regular working people, because I've had more than one person call me on the basically breaking down in tears when they got their copay bills, when they're trying to live on $25,000 a year or less, because that's what 60% of the retirees in this city are living on. So, forgive me if I'm not, and ironically enough, he is a likable guy. I mean, I don't dislike Will Flanagan. He may dislike us because we were instrumental in his recall, but the fact is I don't dislike him. Matter of fact, I had a conversation with him. I had to remind him that, if you're going to talk about your record, at least remember it accurately. You didn't put us in the GIC. He went, oh, yeah, that's right. So hopefully he hasn't said it again. But, this is the whole thing. These people, we ran against a very, very popular mayor, a mayor that had been elected by 70% of the vote, and was very popular even with all his screw-ups. They're running again, now, it's basically they're running a recall of the bubonic plague. So who wouldn't be seeking them out? And, well, good, I'm glad, but then again, there'll be a delay and a delay and an appeal and appeal and appeal, and who knows? But hopefully it looks like the recall is on track, and I'm always in favor of this. Let the people speak, and when it comes to affecting change in the government, if the government won't do it themselves, we not only have a right, but we have a duty, as it says in the Declaration of Independence, to replace that government for one that works with us. So forgive me for all the people that say we should not have recalls. Oh, you can't just recall people. Well, if you're recalling them because you don't like the color of their suit, you're probably not going to get the signatures. They're giving you a 20-day window to do something that politicians have 2 years to do. Campaign. Bring your message to the people. And they're doing it. And good for them. So that's what we've got. So they've got they've got a whole bunch. They've got 4,000. I think at final count for us it was over 5,000. But they're going to throw a bunch of those signatures out. They're up around what, 47 something, 4750 or something like that, I believe, CJ.
Yeah.
So, I would say even with this delay in the certification, we'll ultimately see a recall.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting because, as you said, Will's very popular right now, and he was very popular then, and he is considering running. From what I've been told, and again, this is out there as more rumor, so don't count me in on it. Linda isn't going to run. Sam Sutter's not going to run. So the field is closing. But once these get certified, how wide is this field going to get?
Yeah. No, there are other names that have been bantered around right now, being bantered around, but we don't know. And that's one of the scary things about the recall. When they did the charter, and they had a recall, I would have had a provision where we had fundamentally a recall and then fundamentally a primary, so you're not being elected on a plurality, because if we get a whole bunch of people running, and a disliked incumbent may have enough political hacks who got jobs from him and families and friends to get in again.
And then again,
let's not discount that very real fact that the two leading candidates in a recall may be the recalled mayor and a former recalled mayor.
Exactly, which is scary.
That's really scary because, as I said, Will Flanagan has a very, very good chance because people fundamentally don't care. We've said it, since the show.
You get the government you deserve.
6 years, that we get the government we deserve, but people do not elect politicians based on their ability. You get I don't know anybody that hires an auto mechanic that can't fix their car, or gets an air conditioner repairman that can't fix it, or a boiler repairman that can't fix their boiler, or a carpenter that can't make a straight line, that can't snap a straight line, but when it comes to politicians, people don't care. strictly, in many cases, on their charisma. And the example I used in a previous show was John Kennedy. John Kennedy was, John Kennedy, he allowed the Berlin Wall to be built. He screwed up the Bay of Pigs invasion, but nobody cared. The guy was a very charismatic president. To this day, he's fundamentally, the entire family's worshipped. If you're a Kennedy in the state of Massachusetts, you can basically do anything and you're going to get elected. Nobody cares. John Kennedy was a, he was a war hero, PT 109. He served his country, but he wasn't, he was a new president. He was doing things that could have made him a great president, but we didn't have time. But he did mess up a few times. But look at the way they handled those screw-ups. He screwed up the Bay of Pigs, let the Berlin Wall be built, but it was Camelot. Jackie was walking down with her little pillbox hat, and John was there, looking dapper and handsome, giving a speech, and everybody was happy. Now you turn the clock. You got Richard Nixon, who people did not like, and actually was one of the greatest foreign policy presidents we've ever had. He was the guy that opened up relationships with China. We had no relationship with China for decades. Very good foreign policy president, a good politician. Was he a crook? Yeah, maybe. I'm not a crook, he said, but was he a crook? Was he devious? But then again, so was LBJ. LBJ was known as one of the most vicious backroom politician deal makers in the history of Washington, D.C. But he never got caught. So, politics is politics, but people are people. And people vote for charisma more often than not. Somebody somebody they like, they'll vote for, even if they can't do the job. And I'm not saying that Kennedy, wasn't a good president. He was okay, but the reality is that he didn't get a long enough tenure to prove, because it takes a while. And look at our president today. Donald Trump could cure cancer.
And they'd still hate him.
And the Democrats would figure out a way to say, that he didn't use union labor or something. I don't know. They'd figure out something to attack him for. And, that is human nature to a degree, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. We should judge. I don't know why people can't compartmentalize. You hire a man to be, that's a job. It's a job. It's not a title. This is, as much as they've created a constitutional monarchy, a politician is your hired agent to represent you and your best interests. That's the way this government was supposed to be created. But it isn't. They go up there, they get their own health care, they have their own set of laws in Washington. Congressmen do not have to abide by the laws of the United States. They have their own set of laws. They don't have to abide by any of the laws they pass. They have the best health care in the world, while we have the worst health care. We pay the most, and it's a disaster. We're 47th in infant mortality. We're not number one in virtually anything. Yeah, we have some great hospitals, but we have some horrible health care overall. So costly. But not congressmen, not senators, not presidents. They got a lifetime, the best health care in the world, the best health care in the world. And you don't have to spend 30 years in there to get a pension. You got to spend 30 seconds in a chair, and you got a pension. And they got a great pension system, too. So they live in a different world, and people who think we are equal, people think that, that as it says in one of our most sacred documents, all men are created equal. In this country, you are not. Our politicians are a privileged class. And why are they a privileged class? Because we allow them to be a privileged class by voting them in time and time and time again, no matter what they do. So.
It'd be very interesting if we had term limits, which
Oh,
of
but you
course,
can't have that. That's
that's a bad pill,
That's an expletive. You
Yeah.
can't, I'm surprised we're allowed to say that on
television,
on
yeah.
television. But and how many, I know you do, because, you're like me, you follow politics very closely. How many people do you remember being elected that ran on a platform of term limits? They were going to limit terms because
Yep.
and once they got in office,
Nope, it's gone.
term limits were gone.
Yep.
It was a 180. Oh, no, I thought term limits was the way to go, but I see how much good I can do in Washington, so let me stay up here for 50 years.
Exactly, and that's the problem. I'm sorry.
People buy it.
Right, but people in Massachusetts, the voters have got to be absolutely insane because they keep these people, locally, statewide, and nationally, they keep them in office.
Yeah.
I mean, this state is so predictable. They don't even put us before the votes even come in during the presidential elections. They already mocked Massachusetts for the Democrats.
Yeah,
they don't even wait. They don't even wait for one vote to come in. They say, "Oh, Massachusetts for the Democrats, Rhode Island for the Democrats." Boom, boom, and that just tells you how predictable this state is. Just imagine for 1 second, if this state threw the national media a loop and they voted voted red. They would go bananas.
Every media outlet would blow up.
They would. They wouldn't know what the heck happened.
The end of the world.
They wouldn't know what happened.
It would be a very interesting thing. You're talking about that, and I'm thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if, and I'm sure he will, at some point, Charlie Baker will run for president.
Probably.
And he's the most popular governor he's the most popular governor in the country. But if he runs for president of the United States, will he carry Massachusetts?
He probably will.
As a Republican?
He probably will.
He may be the first in a very, very long time to
Right.
carry Massachusetts running for federal office.
Right.
So that would be maybe we'll get to see that in our lifetime because, I know that Donald's going to run for a second term, but who knows if he even gets the nomination. But at some point in time, I would say if not in 24, Charlie Baker will run.
Yeah.
At least for the nomination for the Republican Party.
Most likely. Hey, we got about 2 minutes left, and I wanted to talk about this because the comment period ends today. There's a proposed FCC rule that will threaten this program and this station. And the column, which was published by Wicked Local, says, get ready to say goodbye to some of your local cable channel broadcasts of government meetings, elections, and other town events. The Federal Communications Commission is moving towards adopting a new rule that community television groups say would gut funding for public education and governmental channels. The loser, if that ends up happening, will be the local taxpayer, the local cable subscriber, and the everyday citizen who rely on access to public information that's provided through these programs. The proposed rule is moving quickly towards regulatory approval. Would allow major cable companies such as Verizon, Fios, Comcast, Xfinity, and RCN to limit the amount of spending for community programming that has been negotiated as part of their licensing agreement. The FCC is accepting public comments up to today. So go to the FCC website and see if you can give some support to this station and the government channels. Because if they don't have to negotiate this in the cable licensing agreement anymore, we are going to lose because you won't be able to watch your city council meetings on cable. You won't be able to watch, Florida Educational Television, and you won't be able to watch FRC Media, which means you'll miss us. And as it is, when we're off the air for one day, people go through withdrawal.
Yeah, and while we're on, I see Mark Monroe Dion wrote a little piece. So if you get a chance to get it,
it's on it's on the Florida Reporter website.
It's on the Florida Reporter.
And it's all about the gaffe of the logo.
The logo.
The infamous logo.
And as Mark always does, he does a good job. He is a wordsmith, and he did it. This is a very satirical and funny article. So read it. We miss his column because we always had a lot of fun with it. Maybe we'll talk about this column on the next show. But hey, stay angry. We'll see you on Friday. I hear our our exit music here, and CJ just exited off the screen.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you on Friday. And
you on
again,
Friday.
as Chip said, stay angry.